We're not allowed to say it. Okay. Years ago, I worked in a prep kitchen for a small chain of restaurants. For background, when you pick up a knife in restaurant kitchen, you're supposed to say sharp pretty loudly, so that other people rushing around know someone is walking around with a knife. Anyways, we had two kinds of knives: large chef knives and paring knives. There were only a few paring knives, not enough for everyone to have one at their station. At some point, one of my co-workers started referring to knives as sharps, and so I started calling the paring knives baby sharps, and it caught on. This led to people asking across the room, "Who's got a baby sharp?" Well, my boss was a massive bee. She, for some unknown reason, didn't like us calling the paring knives baby sharps, and said so on a few occasions, but nobody cared. To be clear, nobody ever sang "baby sharp do 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 do" or anything like that. Well, one day, she was in a particularly bad mood and yelled at us, "Nobody's allowed to say baby sharp anymore!" Cue malicious compliance. That afternoon, I was home and photoshopped a little cartoon face, bonnet, pacifier, and a diaper onto an image of a paring knife. I took the image of a custom print shop and had them printed on a baseball cap. We were required to wear hats at work to keep stray hairs from falling into the food. I only worked there a couple months after this because I found a better job, but you better believe I wore that baby sharp hat to work the next day and then every day for the remainder of my time there. The boss never said anything to me about it, but I know it pissed her off. OP. Now you know what I have in my head? Baby sharp do 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 do, baby sharp do 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 do. Okay, the next story. My husband cleaned the work bathroom. My husband is a very skilled outdoor tech for a big communication corporation. He's been there 34 years. He was doing some online safety training in office. A 20-something inside engineer, we'll call him Skippy, told him to go mop the bathroom floor. My husband refused, stating it's not covered under his job title. Skippy begged to differ, said the floor was muddy from the boots and his management, so he can order people to do anything, which is not true, of course. Hubby got an idea, stated okay, he would go do it. He went into the mechanic area, grabbed the power washer, put in lots of cleaner, and hosed the bathroom down, ceiling to floor, including the paper towel, toilet paper, magazines, and the crappy chair they stored in there. Husband went back to his online courses. Skippy went to the restroom and came howling at my husband about soap being everywhere. It was a huge mess, blah, blah, blah. My husband replied, anything worth doing is worth doing right. If it's not cleaned enough, he'd be happy to put degreaser into the power washer and clean it again. Skippy had to answer to his second level and is now refusing to speak to my husband. Well, if it's not perfect, malicious compliance, I don't know what is. The next story. This is not a mistake. Last year, I was ordering an upgrade for the server room at work. It was a large, expensive upgrade that cost over $500,000. If you have ever had to call a manufacturer to order equipment at this amount, you may know that once you get a good reputation with a manufacturer, they tend to cut red tape for you to maintain a good working relationship with your company. I, in the past, have bought equipment for my personal use at home, and it takes forever to get a rep on the phone, and they often screw you on the deal. While I was making the order with the manufacturer, I inquired about getting personal equipment to see if it would be possible to make a separate order for myself with my own money. The rep had no issues with it and was happy to make the second order. He placed both orders and even gave me a company discount for my order. Now I didn't make it perfectly clear that the second order was a personal order and not in any way connected to the corporate account or order. He confirmed this and the order was locked. A few months went by and the equipment showed up in the loading dock at work and everything was in order. However, my order never arrived at my house. I attempted to contact the manufacturer but got put on hold for hours. I gave up for now and figured I would try again in a few days. The next morning, the equipment showed up. It was an exact match for the equipment that was sent to my work. Now, keep in mind the order I placed for my house was a blade server that was just over $6,000. This was not what I ordered. I went into panic mode as I cannot afford this equipment, and when they bill me, I will be screwed. I checked my bank account and found no charges yet. Now I'm really panicked as now I think they billed it to my company, effectively double charging them. I expect I will get fired. When I returned to work after my weekend, I mailed billing and got a copy of the invoice. Well, they didn't bill my company for the equipment sent to my house. Now I'm really confused. So at this point, I drop it. It is a pain to get them on the phone and I can't call the corporate line when it's a personal order. A month later, I got an invoice in the mail with a late charge for failure to pay. Okay, now I can get this fixed. I see they want $6,000 plus $250 for late charges. That's odd. I called the retention number and got a rep. I gave her the account number and she told me she needed to transfer me to a manager due to the amount. Okay, cool. The manager picks up the phone and I try to explain the bill is wrong and the equipment they sent me wasn't what I ordered, and he immediately cut me off with, "You need to pay the invoice. You're in violation of the contract and we will sue you if you don't pay it immediately." I tried again to explain the equipment issue, but again he cut me off and demanded I pay. So I told him I would take care of it then. I said sorry for being an inconvenience and I will call my bank right away. I then confirmed the bill amount and the part order number from my equipment labels. He confirmed it and said, "See, there was no mistake." And as I was about to hang up, I know I heard him say in a smug tone to someone else, "That's how you deal with poor a-holes." Called my bank and got them to unblock the transaction. It was stopped for fraud alert. The amount was paid. I am now the owner of a $500,000 server room in my basement. A few months later, I had to order some more connectors for the fiber lines and spoke to their rep again. I inquired about buying personal devices again since the last time went so well. Apparently, they cannot do that anymore. Something about a manager fraud investigation. Can't imagine what that's about. Honestly, I think this one can really come back and bite you in your booty. The next story. Teachers didn't understand how question marks worked. Back in high school, whenever we had a test, the teachers would say, "Interpretation is a part of your evaluation." Meaning, too bad if you don't understand what a question expects you to answer, I cannot help you. At the same time, there were teachers addicted to using a question mark at the end of every activity in the test, even if it was an imperative sentence. Dumb example to illustrate. Instead of "name 3 elements of periodic table," period, it said "name 3 elements of the periodic table?" question mark. Whenever I found one of those, I'd simply answer, "Nope." After all, it seemed to be asking whether or not I would name whatever. If the teacher didn't give any points for it, I'd argue that interpretation is part of the evaluation. And I answered the question. Sometimes I didn't get 100% on case like this, but a solid 50%. Good enough if I didn't know any elements on the periodic table. Eventually, The teacher seemed to notice what they were doing and started using question marks properly. Well, a perfect example of a student giving a lesson to the teacher. My narcissist mom texted my wife when she found out we were having a child. Funny how 2 years of no contact were okay until we had something she wanted. After years of bad relations, my wife and I went no contact with my aunt mom. For 2 years, she didn't seem to care or make an effort to fix things. Then, my wife got pregnant with our first child. The day my mom found out, my wife received this text. I just heard your wonderful news. I want to let you know that I realize I've made mistakes and I'm truly sorry that I hurt you. Believe me, if I had to do it all over again, I would have done things differently. I'd like to put this behind us. We have a beautiful baby coming, and I very much want to be a part of your and her life. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me. Let's talk soon. Processing the information, my wife didn't respond immediately and received the following message a few weeks later, not 2 months later, like the message says. It's been almost 2 months since I sent you the last text. Time is flying and soon you will be a mother. I would really like to put all this behind us. I would really like to be a part of my granddaughter's life, as well as yours. Your daughter deserves to have the love of both her grandmothers. As she knows, she will want to know where her other grandmother is. And as my son knows, in the end, the important thing is we remember about our grandparents is the final time we shared with them. Please don't deny her that. I am here. Again, let's talk. Funny how this suddenly became important when we had something she wanted from us. My wife and I gave her another chance, but it quickly turned back to the same cycle of bad relationship. My daughter is now 2 and we've been no contact again with my mom for 3 months. My wife is 6 months pregnant with our second child. I'm taking bets on how soon until we get another text like this. Well, I'm glad that you are doing what you feel right and keep on, don't give up on yourself. The next story is by AITA Counterfeit. Am I the butthole for questioning if my husband gave me a fake Gucci bag? Since I met my husband, he has always gifted me expensive gifts. My husband has a job that pays him a good amount of money. Over the years, I would tell him that he doesn't have to keep buying me expensive gifts because we both have expenses, such as a mortgage and other bills. I also give him some expensive presents that I save up to buy him. A few weeks ago, we welcomed a beautiful baby boy. My husband, a few days before I had him, gave me a push gift. It was a huge Gucci bag and inside was a Gucci tote bag. It was a very lovely bag. He said that the reason why he got me that huge Gucci tote bag was because I would need a big bag to carry around so that I can put the baby's things inside when I travel with him. I gave my husband a huge hug and I thanked him. The gift to me was too much, but he kept insisting that he appreciates me and he is excited for this journey we will both experience, and that he saw how miserable I was mentally and emotionally during my pregnancy. The next day, while my husband was at work, I took the bag out of the box to place it on the shelf next to my other bags. As I held the bag, something felt off. I noticed that the material of the bag was different. The inside of the bag looked a little off, and the handles of the bag felt very bad quality, to the point where I placed too many things in the bag, I am sure it would tear. The bag also smelled different. It didn't smell like leather to me. I quickly went to the Gucci website and looked for the bag. The bag is on there, but as I compared both bags, I came to the conclusion that the bag was fake. I still tried to give him the benefit of the doubt by looking for an older version, but everything still points to the bag being fake. I began to wonder, why would he buy me a fake bag? He didn't have to get me anything expensive. I made that very clear to him many times. Later that night, when he came home, I asked him where did he buy that bag at. At first, he said the actually Gucci store. I kept asking him and he was sure a couple of times. He then told me, no, it was eBay. He said he got a good deal. I quickly told him the bag was fake and that he should try and get his money back. He angrily said he was offended and that eBay authenticated the bag and how dare I call the bag fake. I showed him the pictures and he just got even more mad and called me ungrateful. I even compared it to another Gucci bag that I have and showed him how the material is different. I also explained to him that if he paid a lot of money for the bag thinking it was real, then he got scammed and should get a refund. He paused for a second and took the bag. He keeps calling me ungrateful, so am I the butthole because I keep questioning if the bag is fake? Well, if it happens as you said, then no, you're not the butthole, not at all. But I think that maybe you chose different words to describe your situation. Maybe somehow your husband felt attacked, maybe not. I think you will talk it out and it's gonna be okay. But yeah, try to get the money back. Or you can go to the store and authenticate the bag and then you will figure it out. The next story is by Throwaway JQ123. Am I the butthole for refusing to share a bed with a male friend for weeks? I'm female. I'm going on vacation with 5 of my friends. We want to rent a whole house together. 4 of them are in a relationship, so they will have 2 rooms as a couple. So there is me and the male friend left. Of course, it would be way cheaper if we slept in a room together and wouldn't have to rent a 4-bedroom house. I've shared a bed with him before during a short vacation, and he's a good friend. But this time I insisted on having my own room. I'm going to spend $1,600 on a 2-week-long vacation. I'm honestly sick to always have to share a bed with someone I'm not in a relationship with or sleep on the couch during vacation just because I don't have a partner. I know he doesn't have any intentions to make a move on me. I just want to have some space for myself to relax and not having to worry about another person in my room, changing clothes, different sleeping schedules, etc. I even offered to pay extra for having a room to myself. The problem is, he cannot afford paying extra. Am I the butthole for still insisting on having my own bedroom? And here is an update. Since there are still questions left, I'm going to try to explain it better. Renting a 3-bedroom house equals 2 people per room. So we divide the costs equally. Me having a single room means my friend will have a single room too. So let's say the costs increase by $600. For me, it would be fair to divide the cost between us two. So each of us has to pay $300 more. The problem is he cannot afford the $300. So I'd have to cover the difference alone while we both have to upgrade, and I'm wondering if that's fair. It just feels like I have to pay more to have the same comfortable holiday as the couples just because I'm not in a relationship. Very good idea would be if you still get a 3-room house, but he will sleep with some of the couples. If they don't mind you having a stranger in your bed, well, they can as well take him in. Today, I effed up by measuring a coworker's desk with my hands. This is incredibly embarrassing. A girl at work was approved for a couple new, bigger computer monitors. She's a document controller and works with AutoCAD drawings. We didn't have a standard model for monitors about 24 inches, so I sent her a couple models and monitor stands via email and asked what she liked. A little while later, on another call, I walked by her office and talked to her about the monitors. At one point, she asked if I thought 32-inch monitors would even fit on her desk. I found dimensions of the monitors and started measuring the length of her desk with my hands in 6.5-inch increments. I found it would be a tight fit, but it would work. She then asked me how I knew my thumb and finger were 6.5 inches apart, and I stumbled. I couldn't think of a legitimate reason why I would know this. She then looked at me and went, "Oh," and started giggling. I turned absolutely betrayed and felt my face getting hot and garbled my excuse that didn't make any sense whatsoever, and it made her start laughing harder. Her laughter drew in the coworkers on either side of her office, a guy and a girl. And they came over and asked what was 6.5 inches. She thankfully told them it was not and just a joke measuring her desk. But I think my red face and inability to look anyone in the eyes may have given something up. I was so embarrassed, I wanted to run out of her office. I really like this comment, which says, because normally I need to use 2 hands. Redeemed. I love it. My mom freaks out over my tattoos and any bodily autonomy. I, 24-year-old female, have loved tattoos and piercings since I was a young teen. My mom, who is 54, has always had a hatred for any body modifications. Hair cutting, coloring, piercings, tattoos, particularly on me and my sister, which is off since my brother is a tattoo artist. She never explicitly explained why she doesn't like them or why she doesn't want me to have them, but when I would ask her, she would basically shut the conversation down and said, "Because I said so." There have been several times in my life where I would try and rebel against her beliefs, which often led to big fights. The biggest fight is when I was 19 and I really wanted to cut my hair short, to my shoulder. Up until this point, I always had long hair and my mom would always trim my hair. When I told her I wanted shorter hair, she got extremely mad and said, "No, you look like a boy." After days of trying to convince her, we agreed that I was allowed to cut my hair to my shoulder blades. I accepted this because I knew this is the best outcome I could get. So she cut my hair and I was not satisfied with how it looked. I wanted it shorter, like how I initially mentioned. The next day, I went back to college where I lived with my roommates at the time. I decided, F it. It's my hair and I want to love myself when I look in the mirror. I went and got my hair cut a couple more inches to the desired lengths I wanted. I loved it. I felt so free and liberated. When my mom found out, she ripped me a new one, called me disrespectful, she was hysterically crying, and she threatened to stop paying for my tuition and I would have to move back home. My dad reached out and told me I really upset her and I should apologize, which I did. I have massive guilt and pleasing issues with my mom. Anyhow, that is a little background info on how my mom typically responds to when I want to do things for myself. Fast forward to a couple of months ago, I decided I wanted to get another tattoo piece done. I have 2 other tattoos that my mom is aware of. With my other tattoo, my mom was very involved in the process. She decided size, placement, everything. I basically only got to decide what it looks like. I went along with this because I knew it was the only way I was going to get them. I'm not upset with how they turned out. I love them regardless. But mind you, I was 20 and 21 when I got this done and paid for both of them myself. Now, with this 3rd piece, I wanted to do this by myself as a 24-year-old who now lives on her own and makes her own money. When I told my mom, it turned into the biggest argument we have ever had. I have never heard my mom talk to me like this. She called me selfish, disrespectful, and accused me of only coming to talk or visit her when I wanted to tell her bad news, like getting a tattoo. She said she doesn't even recognize me anymore. This obviously upset me, and I left the room in tears. When I calmed down and came back to talk to her, she continued to lay into me about how I am ruining my body and how I am going to look on my wedding day. Which, by the way, I am nowhere near getting married. I tried to explain to her that her words were upsetting me. and I just want her to support and love me no matter what. She couldn't give me this reassurance and continued to play the victim as if I am the one doing something terrible to her. I left her house very distraught. After a couple of days, we talked on the phone, but she never apologized or brought up that situation again. This is usually how it went. I ended up getting the tattoo, which I am absolutely in love with. I hide it when I see my mom, but when she does see it, she ignores it. She has since made me promise to not get any more, which I did not agree to, of course. I want more and soon, but I am crazy worried about her reaction again. I love my mom and care what she thinks of me, and I want a good relationship with her. Why can't she accept all of me? Is this narcissistic behavior? Anyone else in a similar position feeling lost and wanted to live my own life? Well, as far as I know, tattoos, when they are done right, are pretty expensive, and I think that maybe you can save up those money and go into therapy, because you have to separate from your mom, because it looks to me like you're conjoined twins or something. Shady. I just need to vent. I am 27-year-old female, and my relationship with my mother, she is 58, became complicated after she started dating and later married her current husband, who is 15 years her senior. My mom became toxic towards me and my older sister when we opposed her getting remarried, mostly because of her drastic change in personality. We had a falling out a day before her wedding, and we went no contact for a few months and limited contact later on. During that time, I started going to therapy in order to process what happened and learn to set boundaries with my mom. We've been trying to slowly patch up our relationship, but it's been difficult, mostly due to my mom's behavior. My mom mostly blames me for what happened and still holds the opinion that I started everything. The situation: I am currently in a financial crisis. I had to drop out of community college in order to work full-time to support myself. However, I have made a lot of mistakes in the job searching process because of my mistakes and lack of experience. Because of my lack of employment and routine, my mental health has suffered a lot. I am currently low on savings, and if I don't start working, I'm going to be in more trouble than I am in right now. I have tried doing DoorDash, but I've mostly made peanuts. Most of my earnings go into my gas tank. I just got a job offer at a pizza place that I'm going to start pretty soon. Even though I am relieved to have a job, I feel a bit defeated as well. I feel terrible that I couldn't get a job sooner. I also feel bad that I couldn't secure a better job offer and turned down offers that would have benefited. I told my mom that I feel sad that I wasn't able to get myself a better job, but my mom said that I should work my way up through multiple jobs over the next few years. I don't want to work this pizza job forever. I want to figure out a way to get out of my situation and into a better paying job. I know that this will take some time. I'm nearly 30 and I cannot keep jumping from one job to the next over the next few years. I want to figure out a way to get myself into at least a better paying job that's entry level at best. My mom acts like I just want a high paying job handed to me on a silver platter. I don't want to be a manager, I just want to find a job where I can build some experience. I'm also a single woman, so I need to find a way to support myself since I am not married. Because of the below zero temperature weather in January, my electric bill skyrocketed. Because of the low state of my savings, I asked my mom if she could help me with my bill, and she refused, saying that I just needed to take money out of savings and just do DoorDash. Just to make it clear, I hate asking for money, so I was swallowing my pride when I did this. My reason for doing this was so that my lights wouldn't get turned off. I could use the money in my savings for rent, and so I could use my DoorDash money to feed me and my dog. With my mom, she is no financial crisis. In fact, she is living her best life. Her new hobby pays for my grandmother's nursing home expenses. She gets to go shopping for new home decor, and they bought a new house in the mountains. She and her hubby used to live in a big city, but they decided to move because things were getting too expensive. My mom doesn't have to work if she doesn't want to, and she always seems to be traveling. She's going on a mission trip to Cuba. She's always bragging about her house, how pretty everything is, how she loves buying coffee from the Buc-ee's down the road, how everyone is conservative, and how cheap everything is. Even though it's great, she's happy, it feels like she's constantly bragging about it. She believes that I'm a spoiled child and she's just disciplining me and showing me tough love. Even though she's trying to help me see the silver lining of the situation, I still feel like she's somewhat out of touch. My mom offered to let me live with her, but I don't want to go live with her. It's not that I don't want to live in the mountains. It's that I don't like her new husband and that I don't want to repeat what happened a few years ago. Also, I wouldn't be living with her for free. If I lived with her, I would have to pay rent to live in her guest room. I would also be nearly 2 hours away from my friends and other family members. I feel like living with my mom after what happened a few years ago would end up being like a stick of dynamite taking up residence in the matchbox. I'm desperately looking for a roommate, but most of my friends have roommates or have already renewed their leases and are married. I cannot live with my sister and her husband, and I cannot live with my aunt and uncle because they're having family issues too. Please, don't get me wrong. I love my mom. However, trying to connect with her is frustrating. My sister and I have been carefully trying to patch things with our mom, and we don't want to fall back to square one. Well, honestly, I think there is only one solution here. If your mom doesn't want to help you, you have to take up a loan to pay for your bill, and then you will pay it back when you have a job, and that's it. You decide for yourself and you do not involve your mom. The next story, my friend decided to double book our kids' birthdays. My 21-year-old female friend and I have children whom were born pretty close together. The author is a 19-year-old female. Last year, they celebrated with a joint birthday party, but this year we decided to let them have their own special day. My friend, let's call her Kate, confirmed that her child's birthday would be on the 5th of the month and it would be a dinosaur theme. I took that into account and did a completely opposite theme for my child to ensure they could have their own birthday fun, etc. Anyways, I decided to book my child's party for the 9th of the month, and it was the best for us and meant my child's friends would make it. Before I created or sent out invites, I called up Kate and asked her to confirm her child's party date and double-check that our date wasn't going to clash. This was discussed multiple times over the phone and in person. Well, I have come to find that she has changed the date of her party to the same day as my child's party was. Her excuse being that she wasn't aware of the date, even though she has a physical invite and has seemed to be acknowledging in every conversation regarding the party. She is refusing to change the date as it is the date that works best for me and my son. I feel as though it was done on purpose, and I am upset that my child was not considered. I booked that date out first and she knew of it. I am unable to move my child's party as we won't be around for the 10th and it's a school week. We also wanted to be able to have her actual birthday party as a family day without stress or other children running around. This is the 3rd time she's changed the date. Each time it got closer to the 9th. Am I the entitled parent here? Oh my god. What in 16 and pregnant have I just read? I think in this situation, two children decided to have children, but did not really have time to learn how to communicate with each other. Well, too bad. Friend messes with teacher so he can take notes. A friend of mine used to bring his personal laptop to school with him to take notes during class. It was an old beefy Toshiba and the fans were a touch loud. Not to mention he had one of the fastest typing speeds I knew of, so we are talking fully automatic keycaps here. To give some credit, he was loud, but none of the students were really bothered by it, and it's not like he wasn't doing his coursework. The teacher, however, decided it was a distraction to other students and he'd have to leave his laptop at home from now on and take notes the old-fashioned way. My friend obliged and was very understanding to the teacher. The next day, my friend showed up to class with his trusty electric typewriter, which he restored himself. If the laptop was loud before, this thing was practically screaming. When it was plugged in, it always made a low buzzing noise, and those keycaps, my god, they were like gunshot. He was sent to the principal's office for disturbing class, but he brought his typewriter to school for a few days after so we could mess with it in the lunchroom. I think he was allowed to bring his laptop back, but simply because the teacher didn't have the right to restrict it in the first place. He never had a problem taking notes in that class for the rest of the year. Okay, teacher. I can just imagine the teachers like, okay, let's do it the old-fashioned way. And your friend brings like a papyrus or a stone tablet and a hammer. Oh, that would be even better. The next story is by Pated Cherries. Boss wants paper reports? Sure thing. At my job, my boss had a peculiar insistence on having all reports printed out and physically filled in a cabinet. Despite our office having a well-established digital filing system that made accessing and storing documents a breeze, he was adamant that physical copies were the way to go. So I dutifully complied with his request. I spent countless hours printing out reports, hole punching them, and meticulously organizing them in the filing cabinet. The cabinet quickly filled up with stacks of paper, taking up valuable office space and making it difficult to locate specific documents. Months passed, and my boss finally realized the absurdity and inefficiency of his mandate. He sheepishly admitted that he had not considered the environmental impact or the wasted time and resources involved in his paper-pushing obsession. From then on, we embraced the digital filing system wholeheartedly, and I never had to hole punch a report again. My malicious compliance had finally paid off. Oh, that's great that it actually worked, because I remember at a place I worked many years ago, I had a boss who was also obsessed with paper documents. And she had us print out the reports every month and then every year again for the whole year. And then she stored them in like a huge big cardboard box, in the corner of her office. And it was so weird because she had a nice office and then there was this huge box on top of a box on top of a box in the corner of her office, which was okay. The next story is by Ask Angie, Insurance for Newborn. I had a baby in early February and the plan originally was to put him on my boyfriend's veteran insurance, but apparently we cannot do that because he's a veteran and veteran insurance doesn't allow dependents. Weird, but okay, we'll add him to mine. I messaged our HR department and they informed me they would need a copy of his birth certificate within 30 days of his birth. The problem with that is we cannot even request a copy of the birth certificate until 4 weeks after he's born, and then we have to wait for the copy to come in the mail. I asked HR department if the affidavit of parentage form would suffice since it's notarized, and they said no. So I asked what happens if I don't get the birth certificate within 30 days. and they advised we would have to wait until open enrollment, which has already passed for this year. So basically, my newborn would have no insurance for almost a year, and we would have to pay thousands for his birth and appointments. I was doing some research, and apparently my son qualifies for Medicaid because I was on pregnancy Medicaid, and I never would have known that had my HR department not denied my request. So now his insurance is free, and my employer is out over $200 a month. I've been getting emails from HR department asking if we got the birth certificate yet, even though it's past the 30 days. Too late. Thanks for the not caring about your employees at all. That's my girl. I guess saving more than $200 and making your boss pay or your company pay those money. Amazing. The next story is by Fetzer Rain. You will search every third car. So, I worked security for a major military contractor at one point. Our supervisor liked using our random search number as a tool for punishment for perceived grievances with us. Normally, our search number was something around 15 to 25, meaning we would only pull over and search every 15th car and every contractor truck. It was very cold and very miserable in the mornings when we would suddenly have a couple hundred employees and contractors to show up between 5 o'clock and 8 o'clock. This day, our supervisor got upset because when he came at 4 o'clock for his day shift, he was the 15th car, deciding that he must now ruin everyone else's day, even though we did our best to search his vehicle promptly but completely. So he couldn't say we weren't doing the searches completely. So he set the day shift search number to 3. So we complied. There was only enough room for 3 cars or trucks to be pulled over at once, and once that was done, we would usually stop searches until the others were completed, keeping traffic moving. Not today. This time, we filled in the search area and then stopped traffic until all 3 vehicles were cleared, and then allowed 2 cars through, pull over the 3rd, allow 2, pull 3rd, allow 2, pull 3rd, stop all traffic, and start searches. We ended up with a line of cars waiting to get into the plant that went 2 miles long. It got so long, the local police got involved up the road as people were blocking traffic in some intersections. Then came the phone call from a 3-star general that stuck in the said traffic a mile up the road. Suddenly, we were called to cease all searches for the morning. I later heard that it had been too little too late to cancel the ridiculous searches, and our major military contractor lost $1 billion contract out of the deal, and that supervisor was initially going to be fired, but negotiated his way to just being busted down to a regular guard. We were union, so he started lowest on the seniority chart and got stuck working all the mandatory overtime and all the worst posts, including the one he had made miserable that morning. I should have noted that 2 weeks later, said contract was renegotiated after the company I worked for explained that the person responsible for the general's limousine being held up in traffic for almost an hour had been reassigned. No innocent jobs were lost in the making of this malicious compliance. I love the malicious compliance. It would be, oh my god, $1 billion. I cannot even, imagine this amount of money. But what I cannot wrap my head around is that the general uses limousine. Like, what? Is he going to prom? The next story is by Tesvigian63. Hand over all my tasks so you can get rid of me? Okay. A few years back, I was the IT contracts and supplier manager at a large company, been there 25 plus years and had a lot of corporate knowledge, having worked in multiple roles over that time. Also was very well paid due to lengths of tenure and experience at the company. And now a whole boss gets hired and proceeds to get rid of people he doesn't like and hires his buddies into various roles. The workplace culture took a nosedive pretty quickly. I knew my time was limited as I wasn't in his inner circle. Seeing the writing on the wall, I started looking for and applying for other roles. The a-hole boss gets to me in their sights and decides to get rid of me, looking to move on of his recently hired buddies to my specialized role. He doesn't even understand what I do, needing a lot of technical knowledge combined with contract and legal. He tells me he wants to move me onto an upcoming project and to finish off what I'm currently working on and not take on any new work. Through all of my contracts across the company, I knew there was no new project or even significant budget for one. But I'll do what I'm told. I wrap up my work and tell him I'm ready for the project. He says, "Sit tight. It's not far away and don't start anything else." So I sit at my desk applying for other jobs and waiting. One of the jobs I applied for comes through and get an offer on a Friday morning. That same afternoon, the a-hole boss comes around and says the project isn't happening, and as you have nothing else on your plate, we will have to let you go. I know there is heaps of work backed up and the crap is going to hit the fan soon when contracts aren't renewed, services cancelled, etc. I also know my employment contract and they have to pay a generous redundancy because the boss told HR my role isn't required anymore. I say, "Okay, I guess you will have to pay me a redundancy too." "Sure," he says, not knowing what he has agreed to. So I go through the redundancy process and at the same time accept the offer of the new job. Come my last day, I happily accept the $200,000 payout. His face goes pale when he hears of the amount because it comes out of the team's budget. Walk out the door and into the new job the day after. Love my new job, less stress, great culture, a great team. Wish I'd left earlier, but then I wouldn't have got the payout if I resigned. 4 weeks later, I hear the crap is hitting the fan and they advertise for a new person for my old role, as no one knows what to do because apparently my job was easy. He did not even ask me document what I did to hand over to anyone else. I mean, I'm not even surprised that suddenly his buddies cannot really do the work. The first story is by Quiet Borderline. Operation Let It Go. My dad has shared a story about my late Uncle Dale, his lifelong friend and fellow engineer. So in his memory, I present for you the tale of nepotism, engineering students, and Idana Menzel. I really do hope I pronounce her name right, because I know the song, but I don't know the singer. Uncle Dale was a senior engineer at a small firm in the Midwestern USA and engineering instructor at the local community college. He was also unofficially in charge of the office parties. To help offset the costs, he had a small tin box on a table outside of his office with a slot in it so anyone could donate money to the party fund. Everyone knew about it and were happy to donate. A month or so before the company's big Christmas party, Uncle Dale decided to check the box. Lo and behold, it was empty. Uncle Dale knew something was wrong because he had seen several colleagues putting money in the box. This could only mean one thing. Someone was stealing from the party fund. At this moment, Brad, the owner's nephew and a fellow engineer, came around the corner, and something about the way Brad was looking at him made Uncle Dale suspicious. Brad didn't have a good reputation around the office, to say the least. He had a reputation of being pushy, obnoxious, rude, and just plain entitled. Unfortunately, he was not the owner's beloved nephew, but he knew how to skirt the rules so he wouldn't get fired. Uncle Dale decided to set a trap to catch the thief. Using his engineering skills, he set up a hidden rig using a hidden doorbell camera right by the box. He then had a colleague loudly brag about how he contributed $100 to the party fund. Then he waited. He got a notification that the camera was recording and watched. Brad opened the empty box, scowl in disgust and throw the box against the wall. Now you'd think this would end with Uncle Dale presenting the video evidence to his boss to get Brad fired, but oh no. As I mentioned before, if there is one thing engineers love, it's solving problems. And if it's engineering students, they'll make it an experience to remember. Uncle Dale then went to his engineering students. He offered them extra credit to come up with a rigged box that would make noise when opened. The more obnoxious the sound, the higher the bonus. 1 week later, they delivered their project and demonstrated how it worked. Pleased with the results, Uncle Dale awarded them with extra credit as promised. The next day, he set up the rigged box and proclaimed, "Well, isn't this nice? Someone donated $50 to the party fund." Then he went to his office and waited. The engineering students had rigged the box with one of those inserts from cars that play music when you open them. By popular vote, they had picked "Let It Go" from the Disney movie Frozen, right around the time the song was beginning to become unpopular. They also managed to ensure that once opened, the box couldn't close unless you pressed a hidden side button, releasing the hinge, so the song would continue to play. For extra funsies, they made sure to angle the insert for maximum volume and secure it down with industrial strength glue. Sure enough, everyone in the office heard Idina Mendes belting the hated song and Brad's frustrated grunts while trying to close the box. One of those attracted by the sound was Brad's uncle. Finally, Brad chucked the box at the wall, managing to put a good-sized dent in it. The uncle then summoned Brad to his office. 15 minutes later, Brad left with a cardboard box and cleaned out his desk, along with a note in his file: "Do not rehire, do not recommend." So his engineering career was over. That Christmas, Uncle Dale had a little video prepared to show at the party. The doorbell camera had caught Brad's attempt to steal from the box, all to the tune of "Let It Go." Oh my god, I love this story so much. I mean, I would pay good money to just watch this video, just to be there. It's such a good revenge. I love it. Stigma with hidden charges, I'll show you. So, this past Christmas, my missus and I purchased one of our 9-year-old son's Santa gifts from a certain UK sports retail company that also have many stores here in Ireland as well. It was a football rebounder. It's kind of like a trampoline that you kick the ball at and it bounces back to you. Anyway, we purchased it from their Irish website and thought nothing more of it. A few days go by and we get a notification from a certain brown uniformed courier company that there are customs charges due on something, and as you can imagine, we bought many things for the kids, so we had to double check what we've ordered, and we didn't have anything left that was being imported, so we naturally assumed it was a scam. So I told the wife to call the company and find out who shipped it, and it was a different courier company based in the UK. After a bit of digging and investigating, it turns out that it's our rebounder. They had shipped it from the UK via a local carrier, so the brown uniformed guys to deliver to us. Now, my wife and I are both on disability, so an additional charge of almost 50 euros when you're both already on a fixed income is harsh, especially at Christmas. So I told her to pay it and I deal with the retailer. The first day I called, I had to call 3 times, being stuck on hold for at least 20 minutes each time, but I was patient and polite because I worked in a call center before, so I knew those people are only doing their job. But I asked to speak to a manager and was promised a call back each time, but that never happened. The second day was quite similar. The third day I was started to get annoyed, so called back, waiting even longer on hold, and finally wasn't taking any of this crap any longer. I told the rep that all I wanted was the 50 euros back because our consumer rights in Ireland dictate that a person must be informed of any additional charges on a purchase at the very latest by the final checkout screen. And in this case, there was nothing to show that. And I could easily replicate that issue by putting the same item in my basket and going all the way to checkout screen again, and there was nothing saying we'd have to pay import charges. The rep was indifferent to the situation but tried to help. And what he said sent me over the edge. He offered me a measly 20 euros gift voucher to use on their website, but more importantly, he read a statement to me. He said, "We advise our customers that there may be DDU charges," means delivery duty unpaid, for example, customs charges, "on any item that gets shipped outside from the UK." Then I asked him where it states this information, and he paused, then said that he didn't actually know. I said, "Well, I know one thing. It doesn't say it anywhere on this transaction because I've checked it. And because this is a violation of my consumer rights, I'm going to give your company one last chance to make it right. Have your manager call me within the next 60 minutes, or I'm going to post this entire debacle on LinkedIn and link every senior officer in your company." Then I hung up the phone and waited. Yet again, no call. The next day, I went on LinkedIn and followed through on my promise. I created a post detailing what they had done by stinging us with hidden charges and that they were ignoring our requests for a manager and everything they said and did. Then I tagged every senior officer at that company, from the regional managers through the European directors all the way up to the CEO, and I shamed them to how they operate their company. This, ladies and gentlemen, was now an act of war. Shortly after I posted that, I noticed that they took down the item from their website in an attempt to hide this, but they must have thought that I'm a simpleton that doesn't understand how the internet works. They did not realize that when you search for rebounder on their website, that it shows the item in question, so I took a screenshot of that, then another of the item page that was now missing, but then I did a Google cached search for the same page and found a version from 2 days prior, happily showing the item. Then I added a comment to my original post highlighting how they were trying to hide it with the evidence and trolling them for their heinous behavior, especially at Christmas. Then I tagged and shamed all the senior officers again, and at this point it was really starting to get some attention. Not only publicly, but 3 people in incognito mode viewed my profile. I wonder who they could have been. So naturally, I took a screenshot of the 3 mysterious visitors listed on my profile and did the same thing. Commented on my post highlighting it and trolling them for their incompetence. The next morning, I got a call from a senior executive at their head office in the UK, practically licking my boots with apologies, asking that she can do to make this right. I told her that originally I only wanted my 50 euros back as it wasn't fair, not even legal, that I had to pay it, but since I had to go through such lengths to get their attention, now I wanted my 50 euros back, a full refund on my entire purchase, and I wanted to keep the product. That was the only thing that would make this go away. She asked for a couple of hours to fix it and said, okay. About an hour later, I got another call from her, again apologizing. She asked for my PayPal address where she sent me 50 euros. Then she refunded the whole purchase and she let us keep the product. Obviously, I thanked her for her help because at that stage, I was just happy it was over. But I'll be damned if I let anyone walk all over my family, even if they are a £58 million annual company. The most of the story here is, do not take bullcrap from anyone. I may be just one man, but my son's view of Santa is far more valuable to me than the opinion of some retail chain that doesn't care about its customers nor how it operates ethically. Wow. I mean, I admire you, dude, because spending so much money and effort for this. Bravo! Thank you for listening. And I really hope that you subscribe to the channel and like the video. You can also watch this awesome video or that awesome playlist. See you next time!